are you tired of confusing diets and long workouts that don't seem to work? What if I told you there's an easier way to lose weight? You don't need to follow crazy rules or spend hours at the gym. In this video, I'm going to show you 3 simple steps that can help you start losing weight today. These steps are easy to follow and can make a real difference. I've worked with in my gyms and online. This process can be broken down into 3 major keys that determine whether you will be successful with losing weight and body fat or not. In today's video, I want to give you these 3 keys so you can unlock your body's full fat-burning potential. If you make sure that you do all 3 of these things, you will burn fat faster than ever before, and you'll actually be able to keep it off permanently. Let's start with the very first key. The model for burning fat has always looked like this. If you take in too many calories from food, and you don't burn enough calories from exercise, you gain fat. Vice versa, if you have fewer calories than you burn, you'll lose fat. Everyone knows this. We've all been told this over and over again since we were little kids. The traditional model suggests that the reason you have excess fat or extra weight is because you're eating too many calories. The unspoken reason behind this model for why you have too many calories is because of a lack of willpower. You have excess body fat because it's your fault for not having enough self-control and willpower to just consume fewer calories. However, this doesn't really match up with your personal experience. Based on your experience, you know that when you have fewer calories, you lose a couple of pounds, but then usually get stuck. You continue eating fewer calories and feel like you're starving yourself with bland, boring foods that you hate, but you never hit your target weight. This goes on for a while, you get discouraged, and then you quit, because no one can stay on a restrictive, low-calorie diet for the long haul, especially when it's not producing results. Well, guess what? I'm here to tell you that it's not entirely your fault. And I don't mean that in some cliche, cheesy way. I mean, quite literally. It's not only because you don't have enough willpower or self-control, even though for some of you, that may be a contributing factor. Make no mistake. You will need willpower to burn fat, but this isn't the only cause. In reality, if we're only looking at calories in and calories out, you're not addressing the core cause of the problem. Burning fat and losing weight is not just about using willpower to starve yourself by eating less and exercising more, because your body is way too smart for that. Within just a week, after decreasing calories coming in, your body will automatically decrease calories going out. Many people refer to this process as your body entering a so-called starvation mode. This is where your metabolism slows down, causing your fat loss to slow to almost nothing. Not only does your body slow your metabolism, this is proven over and over again in study after study, but it also increases the production of a hormone known as ghrelin. Ghrelin's role is to signal your brain to make you feel hungry. So, to sum this whole torturous dieting process up, you now have fewer calories coming in, fewer calories going out, due to your body responding with a slower metabolism. You're hungrier because of ghrelin, yet you're not burning much fat at all. In fact, the situation begins to feel like you need to keep cutting calories just to maintain your current body fat, rather than losing more. And that's ultimately what discourages you and causes you to quit, starting the whole cycle over again months later, when you're probably in even worse shape than you were before. So what are we missing? It turns out that your willpower is actually not the core cause of this problem. It's actually also a hormonal issue, rather than just a calorie issue. Once you understand this, fat loss becomes easy, and keeping it off is even easier. People think that when calories come in, they keep going out until you eat too many calories, and then your body starts storing those excess calories as fat, even though this is part of how fat loss works. Unfortunately, it's not so simple. When calories come in, your body chooses whether it will store a portion of those calories, even if you didn't cross over your total daily calorie allowance. Also, once your body stores fat, it can choose to break down and use that fat later on, or it can choose not to. Most people think that if you simply don't eat enough calories, your body will have to burn fat. But in reality, your body could just decrease the amount of calories you have going out by reducing your metabolism to match the calories you have in, and then it has no need to tap into your fat stores for energy. So what actually controls this? Well, it turns out that it's one hormone known as insulin. Insulin acts as a bridge between the energy and the nutrients that you consume and your cells, including your fat cells. When insulin levels are too high, your body cannot burn fat, and that high amount of insulin will shuttle energy into your fat cells, making you fatter. So the first major key is to lower insulin levels through diet. Anyone who does some research on insulin will find out that insulin is primarily stimulated by carbohydrate consumption. So, what do people do? They cut carbs, and this can definitely help, but it's not telling the whole story. Glucose was thought to be the main driver of higher insulin levels, so we used to use the glycemic index to find out how much insulin would be released when eating certain foods. However, Now we have a direct insulin index, where insulin levels are directly measured after eating certain foods. It reveals that even high-protein foods like fish could stimulate just as much of an insulin spike as an apple. And it's not only fish. Yogurt invokes a higher insulin response than white bread. So now, on one side, we have the vegan community, blaming obesity and weight gain on meat and animal product consumption. And on the other side, we have the keto and low-carb community, blaming the entire issue on carbohydrate consumption. Also, to go even further, when you constantly have high insulin levels, because of the type of foods you choose to eat and how much of those foods you eat, you cause your insulin sensitivity to go down and your insulin resistance to rise up. So your body responds by producing more insulin. It's kind of like people who have damaged their hearing through many years of listening to loud music. Because they can't hear as well, they turn up the volume even louder to make up for the lost hearing, turning it into a vicious cycle. To reverse this problem and to lower insulin levels, since we know not only carbohydrates are the cause of this problem, the most effective way is through fasting. When you don't eat, insulin levels are at their lowest, allowing your body to reach into your fat storage for energy. You can start with the intermittent fasting plan, where you don't eat food for 16 hours of the day, and only eat foods that don't spike your insulin levels too high for the other 8 hours of the day. Keep in mind, you can have the foods that cause higher insulin spikes again, but only after you restore your insulin sensitivity through fasting. Better than intermittent fasting is the 1 meal a day diet, where you're only eating 1 meal per day. You can transition right into that after you've had some experience with intermittent fasting. But the most therapeutic effects of fasting occur when you increase your fasting intervals to longer time frames, like 36-hour fasts. I'm sure most of you laughed at hearing 36 hours, but there are many studies that show these longer fasts are known to drop insulin levels to their lowest, and you could burn up to a pound of pure fat per day when you do this. So, key number 1 is to lower insulin levels by fasting. Don't worry, the next keys are much less nuanced. The next key is to reduce insulin resistance and insulin levels through exercise, specifically weight training. Since carbohydrates and their simpler form, glucose, play a major role in increasing insulin levels and fat storage, we want to encourage our bodies to use that glucose rather than store it as fat. Your body stores glucose in the liver and the muscles for later use, and once those stores are full, it spills over into your fat cells. You can increase the amount of glucose that your body can store in your muscles just by building more muscle, and more importantly, by consistently lifting weights. Weight training is an anaerobic activity that predominantly uses glucose for energy. With weight training, you can increase your insulin sensitivity and constantly deplete your body's stored glucose, preventing spillover. Even when you're not working out, muscle consumes the majority of glucose that is in the blood, with some estimates suggesting that it could be as high as 70 to 90%. Weight training radically increases this demand, so make sure you start weight training to improve your insulin sensitivity. Last but not least, key number 3 is to increase the amount of sleep that you get per night. I know this might not sound very important, but studies show that even a single night of sleep deprivation can increase insulin resistance. Imagine what not getting enough sleep on a daily basis does to your body. What makes this problem even worse is that other studies report that ghrelin levels go up the following day after sleep deprivation. Remember, ghrelin is your hunger hormone, many times the day after not getting enough sleep, you feel like you need to eat more food to maintain even your low energy levels. That's due to ghrelin sending signals to your brain, making you feel hungry. This causes you to eat more while your insulin levels are higher, leading your body to store more fat. So key number 3 is to get more sleep. It's more important in this process than you think. If you found this helpful, like, share, and subscribe.